Good morning, everybody. So today we're going to be going over Section 4 of Article 1, which is Organization of Congress. We'll go over Section 4 and get into Section 5 tomorrow. Section 5 is a little bit longer. So Section 4, the times, place, and manner to holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations except as to the place of choosing senators. The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meeting shall be on the first Monday in December. Note that changed by Section 2 of the 20th Amendment unless they shall by law appoint a different day. So as you can see, the time and place is set, right? And now they can always change it and change the law. So they're to at least hold one meeting a year, right? So think about that. Your representatives are set by state, and they go to Washington, D.C. in order to legislate, pass laws, repeal laws, and such as that. Now, my question would be, now that we have, especially for this part of the Constitution, now that we have modern day technology and kind of like we're doing now, being quarantined into, everybody's at home, we have 21st century technology with videos and everything else. So why then the Constitution says they should meet, right? Now, let's look at what it says, right? It says the time and places and manner of holding elections and senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But the Congress may at any time by law make and alter such regulations. So if they can make and alter the regulations, it says so right there, right? And we have this 21st century technology. Why do we keep sending our legislators to Washington, D.C.? We get that it's the state capital, but think about this for a second. This is going to be a question posed to you guys. Why, with the 21st century technology, do we not have a virtual Congress, right? So we would have a Congress. They would still meet. They could put a big old Zoom screen up and seats. They could still vote. They could still do all that stuff over video, right? Then if they voted on something, you the voter, you the citizen that they represent, and the citizens didn't like that, they would have to answer to you the citizen the minute they walked out of that meeting in their office, and go right straight back to you the people, because they would be actually in their town. I think part of the problem we have now with the fighting back and forth is the fact that we have everybody there, and they don't really pay attention to what's going on, because what's good for people in California might not be good for people in New Mexico. So, we have to look at the way the legislature is set up, and we have people fighting about stuff. But think about that for a minute. What would you guys think about Congress being a virtual Congress where they would go? Now, obviously, they would have to change the law to do that. Because they just go over there. But it's a 21st century technology. So why aren't we using 21st century technology? I mean, we're doing it today. We're doing it on the classroom, basically. We're providing the classroom to you via YouTube and over the internet. So just think about that for a second, on how different we've changed. We've come from the 1700s to today, where, people were traveling in horse and buggy to get to legislation, and now they travel by plane near and far. But now we have people that are, even the news broadcasters are broadcasting from their basements. So just think about that for a second. Think about how the landscape would change, and not for the worse or for the better necessarily, but think about it. If you had your legislator was to come out his office and be held accountable by his people then and there, immediately rather than 2 or 3 years at the election box, because how often do you really see your legislator? Think about that. So that's what I want you guys to discuss and send me an email on your thoughts on what would you think about, creating a virtual Congress where they're in their office, they go and meet, they discuss legislation, but when they vote on something that the people didn't want, they come out of their office, they immediately have to answer to the people rather than waiting till they see them or waiting till the following election. So just food for thought. I read to you what it is. It's Organization of Congress, Section 4, Article 1. But again, we're going to go over Section 5. And these are laws. This is stuff that they have to do, but Congress can change that. So just think about that for a second and give me your thoughts on that. And, who knows? Maybe in the future it will be virtual Congress. But I just think that it would be interesting. And they can change the law, right? At any time. So those are the kinds of things that we're getting into with the legislation. And again, unless they shall appoint a different day. So they can also appoint different days by law, by changing it. And that's what the amendments are. And we'll go into more amendments once we get further into the Constitution. Tomorrow we'll discuss Section 5. It's a little bit longer on how Congress gets into each house shall judge the elections, and we'll get farther into this is all Congress. So Section 4, 5, 6, 7, that's all the organization, how Congress is organized and what they do. And then we'll get into the powers granted by Congress. We'll get into this more in depth as we go along. But again, the question for this section is, what would you think about the legislators basically legislating from home in the 21st century that we have, like we're doing now, right? And they all meet virtually. They all discuss things. They would still have a platform to get and talk, but when they vote, they absolutely would have to turn around and go out to the people, right? So just think about that. What would you think about a virtual Congress instead of sending people all the way to Washington, D.C., especially in this time that we're in now, right? But and I mean, there should be a point where they would actually meet, but I think that they can meet more than what they do virtually and still have those powers to vote, and then be held more accountable to the people. So we're going over the Constitution. The Constitution is, again, it's an important document, the most important document we live by here in the United States. And just have a blessed and safe day, and we will talk to you tomorrow, and we will go over Section 5.